Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey/X/ over the past few months, the deer that usually keep themselves near my house out in the country have recently began to disappear. At their peak, there was around 20 or so grazing or just hanging out. But now there seems to be maybe 1 or 2 at the max. I tried to do some investigative work into this, but to no avail. I believe there may be a giant wolf or some kind of hunter deity within the forests. At one point during the investigation, me and 2 other friends came upon a kind of nested area. It was an open clearing of trees, and within the opening were a couple dozen deer corpses. Then we heard a blood-curdling howl, so we took off back to our home. Later that evening, I saw a large figure pacing back and forth at the edge of the woods. From what me and my buddies could tell, he was probably 6 or 7 feet tall, a quadruped, and had a large snout. The creature was massive, but none of us dared venture outside because we cared for our lives. Anyways/X/, this is a kind of odd thing that has been happening recently, and I wanted to know if anyone had any suggestions for what I could do. It is a shame to see most of the deer population gone, and I'd like to get them back.
Not a cryptic, but in MITZU Valley of New Mexico, there are not supposed to be wolves here anymore, almost entirely killed off. They're slowly being reintroduced, yet there are sightings of a lone male wolf in old age going back centuries. It is bad luck to kill them according to the natives, and the old male wolf, usually an alpha wolf that has been usurped and left behind from the pack due to old age. Very large, grayed muzzle, usually covered in battle scars and often missing 1 eye or 1 ear. They followed the wagon carts of the Spaniards, Mexicans, Americans, whoever centuries ago waiting for scraps to fall off a chuck wagon. Warriors, soldiers, and scalp hunters saw them as an omen of weary trails to come, and if killed, the party followed by the old wolf is cursed. They are usually found naked and crazed, ripping each other to pieces and eating each other despite still having their own supplies of food and water. Sometimes they are said to scalp and emasculated themselves before perishing in an attempt to nail themselves to old cottonwood or mesquite trees or skin themselves alive. It was commonly believed that there were hostile natives responsible for this type of butchery. 9 times out of 10 it was natives if you find a bunch of men butchered and scalped. But that changed once survivors from parties afflicted by the lone wolf's curse told the stories, and other travelers would stumble upon men at common stations and camps along stage roads that were butchering each other and themselves. The old wolf is always somewhere in sight, usually on some high ground, whimpering with its tail between its legs. Some natives believe that the old lone alpha wolf is always following wagon parties to stay on the move from whatever is chasing it. And most importantly, to stay in the light of the fires. If you're out in the country and see an old grizzled wolf cowering in the edge of the light of your fire, do not harm him.
Wagon is being followed by old-ass wolf, being a douche to him instead of giving him food and making him a camp pet. WTF is this logic?
Wolves were killed off in the American West for a reason. Not only did they kill cattle and horses, but if one was following your wagon party in the dark, unusual behavior for a wolf. It's likely that it's starving or diseased. Wolves are touchy animals that will not usually come near people like carrion birds following a butcher cart or fishing boat. Even then, if it's not obvious that it's just after scraps falling off a cook wagon butcher's cart, it could get shot. Especially if everyone has eaten and is bedding down for the night, and whoever is on guard duty sees a large wolf, or any predator, just sitting or laying in the edge of the camp's firelight. In the American Southwest, lone wolves were killed by natives for the alternate reason that they might be some kind of dark medicine or a witch skinwalking. People in New Mexico and West Texas typically know of what's known as the wolf's curse. Many traveling parties saw dogs as omens of protection as well. Some believe that the old wolf is guarding travelers from danger on the range or badlands. The advice of do not harm the lone wolf seems to be highly regional to southern New Mexico and West Texas for the reason that the wolf carries a curse of madness that will afflict you if you cause any harm. Or alternatively, that shooting a majestic animal like an alpha wolf that is without a pack. old and essentially waiting to die anyways, is an act of extreme cruelty deserving of a curse.
I have a story that many people I tell do not believe. I was dating this girl a while ago, and she liked to hang out with her friends. She always wanted me to go with her, so sometimes I did. One of the nights I went with her, I was sleeping on a futon next to my girlfriend. The futon was in a basement, and at the end of the futon was a sliding glass door that went outside to the opening of a friend's garage. I was lying awake. I suffer from insomnia, just another night for me, until I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I looked out through the sliding glass door to see a very large creature's body entering the garage. The creature was walking towards the garage, and its head was already past the door, so I was unable to see its head. The body was twice the size of a large wolf, walking on all fours. It had tattered fur and ripped up skin. At first I thought this was some stray dog, but thought to myself it was way too big to be a dog. I got up and went to the sliding glass door to see if I could see into the garage, but couldn't see of the walls to the house blocking my view. I shined a light into the garage and didn't see anything. I opened the door and slowly walked towards the garage opening. I threw a rock into the room hoping to scare whatever walked in there out, but nothing. I didn't see or hear anything after going to check on it. I ran into the house, slamming the sliding door shut and locking it. I tried waking my GF and her friend, but they refused to wake up. The next day I told them both what happened, and her friend was telling me it was probably a hellhound. She then told me her uncle had died in that house a few years prior. He was bedridden and couldn't do anything on his own. His last few moments of his life were spent by him kicking his feet at the end of the bed and screaming, "They are coming to get me! OMG, they are coming to get me! The hellhounds are here to get me!"
This isn't exactly paranormal, but it's weird. My friend's dad was telling me this last night when he was drunk. I thought he was full of shit until other people verified it today. His name is Zeke, and I'll tell it how he told it. Zeke's an older fella, but in his younger days he knew a guy named Sean. Sean's dad was a paratrooper and a complete nutcase. He used to wait until the last possible moment before releasing his parachute, then make a hard landing and instantly take off running with the momentum of the fall. Parachuted into the stadium where the Cleveland Browns play one day, on a lark. He kept a long-ass knife on him at all times. It was as big as a machete, but looked like a Bowie knife. He might have killed a dude too, nobody's sure. Anyway, his son is Sean, an equally crazy dude. One day, Sean calls Zeke. "Hey man, I got a wolf, but I can't keep it. Do you want it?" WTF. "Sure man, I guess." Sean picks Zeke up and drives him over to his house. There, chained up to a big tree in the backyard, is the biggest wolf Zeke's ever laid his eyes on. Sean says, "Be careful. He don't like nobody but me, but we can get him used to you." Zeke says, "Nah man, go on and get out of here. This is between me and him." Zeke is crazy too, by the way. "All right man, it's your funeral. I'm heading to Cliff's for some beers. If the wolf don't kill you, come on by after and we'll get fucked up." Sean hops on his Harley and drives off. Zeke's got a six-pack with him and he pops one open, holds it out towards the wolf. The giant beast is eyeing him. Zeke thinks it's sizing him up. He names him Bear right then and there. "Hey there, Bear." He walks over calmly. He gets within striking distance, but Bear stays put. There's an empty water bowl in front of him, and Zeke pours half his beer out into it, takes a swig for himself, starts talking to the giant wolf. "From now on, it's me and you, Bear. How'd you feel about that?" Bear sniffs the beer, watching Zeke, starts lapping it up, seems to like it. "You're gonna come home with me, Bear, and you, me, and my girls are gonna be a family." Zeke borrows Sean's truck, the one they rode in on, and drives home. Bear rides in the bed of the truck and hops out when they get to the house. Zeke and Bear walk to the backyard together. It's getting near sundown by this point. Zeke says, "I ain't gonna tie you up like Sean. Not at night. You need to be free. But when morning comes, you need to be right here." Zeke makes an emphatic pointing motion down at the dirt. "Right here by morning. You understand?" Bear saunters off near the tree line and looks back at Zeke, who points at the ground again. "By morning." Bear runs off. Zeke drives over to Cliff's and he and Sean get rip-roaring drunk. In the morning, he wakes up to a loud scream. What the hell? It's his daughter Lacey. "Dad, there's a wolf in the backyard." Zeke looks out the window. I'll be damned, he listened. Lacey is almost in tears. She went outside and found one of her kittens eaten. Her cat had a litter of 7, but she was nowhere to be found. Zeke says, "Go on out there and tie Bear to the tree." Lacey looks at him like he's crazy. "He'll eat me, Dad." "Go on and tie him up." Lacey knows better than to argue with Zeke. She walks outside and Zeke yells, "This is my daughter, Bear. She's gonna tie you up, and tonight we'll let you run off again." I asked Lacey about this after I heard this story, and the look in her eyes was pure terror. She was obviously still traumatized by it. When I asked her, her eyes went wide and she got a faraway look in her eyes. All she would say was, "I was the one who tied him to the tree. It was me that did it." God damn, this is longer than I thought. I'm sorry. Anyway, fast forward a couple months. Zeke and Bear are inseparable. When Zeke goes out in the woods, Bear trots alongside him. When he sits on the front porch, Bear is there right next to him, scanning the tree line. When Zeke was a boy, he'd seen something he couldn't explain coming out of the woods. He said it must have been Bigfoot, because it looked like a big hairy man. He was out chopping wood when he smelled a pungent odor and looked up to see it standing 50 feet away, watching him. Total paralyzing fear. Then the Bigfoot walks off. Zeke bolts inside and tells his parents, but they won't believe him. They never believed him about anything. They always used to call him a little liar. To this day, he will flip his shit if you suggest he's not telling the truth about something. Needless to say, he feels good about having a wolf with him when he's out in the woods. But one day, Zeke is staying at a friend's cabin. I'll call this friend Tyler. Bear goes with Zeke and mainly hangs around outside. One morning, there's a gunshot and Zeke runs out. Bear is lying on the ground near the cabin, and someone in the woods is watching them. It's Tyler. Tyler laughs and says, "I guess that's the end of Bear." Then he says, "And you better get out of here soon or I'll put a bullet right through you too." Zeke is heartbroken. He wants to stay with Bear, but Tyler's got the gun pointed at him. He walks miles and miles before he gets home, crying the whole way. He was a wild animal, he told me. I couldn't forget that. It's not like I ever had much control over him, and I knew there wasn't no way I could keep him very long. Zeke never gets choked up, but I heard him stutter and he coughed like he was about to cry. That was my Bear. I miss him. So yeah, not paranormal, but a weird tall tale maybe? I found it pretty bizarre. It was much longer than I intended for it to be. Sorry for dragging on.
Last winter, I was tracking through some woods, with snow that piled up to your knees, and somehow managed to walk upon a clearing where a wolf was running around. Somewhat normal, but the odds of seeing wolves were low because they tend to stick near mountainous areas, in which this location wasn't. I was further south in Marathon County, Wisconsin. I observed it for some time until it disappeared into the woods. I then started tracking back to town and walked into a deer carcass with bite and tear marks across its throat and hooves. I hadn't noticed it when tracking through the forest before, but it was there. Then, hearing a twig snap to my side, I turned and saw that same wolf sneaking through some shrubs ready to lunge out. I knew the more that I panicked, the more it would get riled up, and I would definitely be goner if I ran. So I just watched it, watching me. As we stared at each other, I noticed there was something off about it. Its eyes were large and darker, and when it snarled, revealing fangs and gums, it had teeth everywhere in its mouth. Usually, there are around 6 to 10 teeth visible on the top row and 8 teeth visible on the bottom row when a wolf snarls. But it has teeth everywhere in its mouth, almost like a shark, teeth over teeth. Then it began sprinting, but when it jumped, it ended up at the deer and not me. But when it jumped, I fell backward into the snow and turned back to see that the wolf was dragging the very large carcass almost as fast as if it were being dragged by a truck, leaving a blood trail. Being smart, I went away quietly, knowing that the wolf had made it clear this was its territory and I wasn't welcome. I've seen several gray wolves in the past, but I've never seen one that looked like this animal. It was much larger and more muscular. The eyes were so human-like and expressive. It still bothers me to this day. I wonder if it may have been a dire wolf, a wahila, or something supernatural.
Okay/X/ I have had a lack of belief when it comes to paranormal shit, because I have never had an experience with cryptoids or other spooky shit. but I had an experience that changed my mind Saturday. For the sake of continuity and to prevent attention seekers from pretending to be me, I will be using a secure trip code. The one on this post to be precise. Out in a woods, chilling with friends, drinking beer like men. Not getting very drunk because I am a driver and we only have my truck. Have my Benelli Nova 12 gauge cause it's coyote country, and for giggles. Campfire burning and we are shooting the shit, having a good time. Fire suddenly dies down. Me and friends are all WTFing. I get up and go to stoke the fire. Buddy comes with me to help. We are loading up on wood from the stockpile we have. I see movement in my peripheral vision. Figure that is just something like a raccoon or some shit. Don't really care. Carry wood to fire. Dump that shit on it. Give it a good squirt with lighter fluid, cheater fluid. Throw all the matches on that shit. Fire is blazing like a mofo. Go back to drinking Das beer. 2 hours passed. Give or take, was not paying attention to time. Out of beer. Friend pulls out a bottle of rum from the back seat of my truck. I don't touch it since we need a sober driver. Hear noises in bushes. Friends all look. I tell them to chill. I will go check it out. Grab my trusted shoddy from a log next to my chair and go. It's a deer running like a madman. Deer? I WTF and look back the direction the deer came from. See a shape moving through the woods. Big shaggy thing. Stops about 10 feet from me. Red eyes and thick, like shag rug but thicker. Black fur. Walking on 4 legs. I am WTFing all over myself. I want to run, but I don't want this thing running after me. It moves closer to me. I damn near poop my pants. Remember, I'm holding my boomstick. Level my gun on the thing. Pull the trigger. It takes a deer slug to the face and doesn't flinch. To clarify, it looked like a wolf, but think Game of Thrones direwolf size. I am thinking there is no way this thing just took a 12-gauge slug to the face and just shrugged it off. It starts to stand up, like on 2 legs when I had seen it running on 4 like 5 minutes ago. Proceed to mag dump on it. It stumbles from the 4 shells, hitting it as fast as I can pump the action. My friends hear the shots and run over. Well, sort of most of them are drunk as hell. They see the beast and one of them pisses himself. They run away like the bitches they are. Hear a low growl. It's the monster thing. Bricks on the ground now. Hear my truck getting started. Those fuckers stole my keys. The lights on my truck get turned on. They turn the truck so it is facing me. It's a wolf. Or some combination of a human and wolf, since it is standing on its fucking hind legs. It's 6 feet tall. The front paws have 4-inch claws. There is some blood on its muzzle from where I shot it in the face. Its chest is a sheet of blood from the 4 slugs it took to the chest. It takes a step towards me. I run like a punk. Takes me 20 years, seems like it, to get to my truck. Pull the drunk from behind the wheel. Pop a U-turn and floor it out of the clearing. Look in the rear view. The thing is running after my truck. Look at the speedometer. 50 miles per hour. That thing is doing 50 after taking 4 slugs to the chest. Friends are flipping shit in the back seat. The guy riding shotgun grabs my gun and asks if I have any ammo. Yeah, in the glove box. He loads my gun up. At this point, the thing is actually pulled up next to my passenger side. Friend Mag dumps in the general direction of the thing. We hit a main road and I almost pushed my foot through the floor trying to get my truck to go faster. The creature is running at the edge of the woods next to the road, keeping up with me. Glance at the speedometer again. Going 80 miles per hour. This thing is keeping up with me at 80. Blow through a small town. Last part. See cop lights in rear view as we leave the small town. Look around for Wolfman thing. Don't see it. I am not particularly religious, but I pray to God that thing is gone. The cop asks if I have any idea how fast I was going. Yeah, but I have a reason for it. And what would that be? Tell him all about what we saw and what we did. His face gets slowly more grim as the story goes on. Have a nice day. Gives me a warning and tells me to go home and stay there. Friends and I barricade the fucking place up. Stay that way until the morning. Some of you might think this is fake, but I know what I saw. Oh, when I was doing 50, it was on its hind legs. But when I hit 80, it was back on all 4s.
This incident occurred in the winter of 1999, while I was stationed at the Duluth, Minnesota Air National Guard Base. I was in the patrol truck doing my usual rounds, checking doors and fence lines. Late at night on the north side of the base was usually creepy enough when patrolling by yourself. Anyways, I was on this road driving towards our baseball field when my headlights caught a pair of eyes reflecting back at me. They were almost eye level with me. Around this time, a few of the guys had been seeing this huge buck around the property, like a 16-pointer or something around that size. I was about 80 yards or so when I saw these eyes reflecting back at me. So I'm thinking it was a big deer. I thought that I've got to see this thing, so I hit the gas and started speeding towards the field. This is where it all happened so fast. It's almost hard to explain. There was a little slope behind the baseball field. It sloped down probably about 12 to 15 feet into a brush line. The brush went about 30 feet, then turned into a thick tree line. The brush was probably armpit high to me and pretty tough to traverse through, being so thick. As I turned into the baseball field and turned the truck towards the thing, I just caught the rear end of it leaping down the slope, below the line of sight of my headlights. The thing was no more than about 20 feet ahead of me when it leaped. All I got a look at was the back end of the thing, and it was big. The best I can do to describe it is to say that it was wolf-like in nature. It had a long tail, longer than 2 feet. The hind legs looked exactly like that of a dog's, same with the back paws, but the paws were huge. They were bigger than my hands, for sure. The fur was wavy, yet matted and thick. The color was blondish or very light brown. I didn't notice any gray in it, but this all happened within about 2 or 3 seconds. I sat in my patrol truck for a couple of seconds, confused and thinking, I know what I saw, but it couldn't have been what I saw. So I hopped out with my flashlight and M16 rifle and walked to the edge of the slope. All I heard was the thing running through the woods in front of me, heading in a northwest direction. And this thing sounded like a moose charging through the trees. It made a lot of noise. That's when I started to get really scared, thinking if this is some sort of wolf or whatever it could be, my M16 isn't going to do a thing to this animal. So I jumped back into my patrol truck as fast as I could and headed back to the headquarters. I never told any of the other members about this for fear of ridicule or being called crazy. There is no way I misidentified this thing. I'm a trained observer, an avid hunter, and have worked with animal rehabilitation with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources in the past. I know my animals and the North Woods extremely well. I saw exactly what I saw, and that was the back end of a large wolf dog thing that basically had its eyes level with mine while I was in a patrol truck. The back end was definitely much larger than any of the largest deer or black bears I've seen.
My encounter was last year. I have a German shepherd, Hades, and a husky pup, Ragnar. That day I left university quite late. It was already dark outside. Usually, I don't mind taking them out at night. At night, I can let them run without their leashes. They are trained, and I know they are going to listen to me. Besides, I knew everyone knew them and wouldn't hurt them even if they were left outside. They have collars that light up since Hades is fully black and Ragnar is fully white, which makes it hard to see him during the winter. I could see them all the time. We walked for a while, and they were playing and running around. At some point, Hades stopped and started growling, looking into the wheat fields down the hill. I didn't think about it. There are bats, owls, and other critters around us. I leashed them, not wanting to run after them if they decided to chase something. After half an hour of non-stop growling, I had enough of it and decided to take Hades home and go out so Ragnar can run a bit more. I got home and expected him to go in his cage. He likes sleeping there, and I never lock them. That night, though, all he did was stand on the window looking out. Since the pup was whining, wanting to go out again, I tried to drag Hades in the cage and lock him in until I got back. Who knew? Maybe he might try going out the window. I got a look out the window. In the parking lot below, I saw a figure circling the cars. Thinking that it might be someone trying to steal, I got a flashlight and shone at it. It wasn't a thief. It wasn't human at all. It looked up, its eyes reflecting the light from the flashlight. Its head looked very similar to Hades. It was standing on all fours, but when I shone the light, it stood up. The roofs of the cars were barely reaching its midsection. It let out a growl, which I later learned that many of the tenants have heard. Hades went wild trying to bust out of the cage. Ragnar was whining even louder. I realized he didn't want to go out. He was trying to get as far away from the window as possible. The growl made me flinch, and I dropped the flashlight through the window. I tried to see it again, but it was too dark. I heard the crunching of snow as it left. The next morning I went to find my flashlight and found huge dog-like footprints in the snow and a foul smell still lingering. I borrowed infrared binoculars from a hunter friend of mine. Ever since then, I have seen it 4 times in the forest, twice crossing the field, and once coming near the hill looking up. My roommate and I have been taking turns keeping watch at night when Hades starts growling. I don't take the dogs out at night, and Ragnar doesn't play and run around anymore. He just stays pressed against my feet. I hope he grows out of it.
First time posting this still haunts me to this day. Around 12 years ago, 2003, 13 years old, nearing the end of spring in the Mountain West. My best friend Dustin and I, along with my brother and 2 of his friends, were over for some parents to get together. We are in a pretty affluent area and live in a ranch-style house with around 2 acres of land, with a rustic barn and creek behind the house. Party going great, parents getting drunk, all of the kids playing video games, night swimming in the pool, etc. Our dog unexpectedly gets spooked. He had a habit of running away, but this time he made it his sole mission to get out. Apparently, one of the parents said he saw the dog gnaw at the fence, then bolted once an opening occurred via the party. Parents, being drunk, asked the kids to go find the dog, which was a long shot. We had this monocular night vision goggle, so we rounded up for an adventure. We didn't get very far. As we passed the barn and entered the creek area about 2 blocks away from the house, we heard this eerie gnawing sound. We take this path further up towards the creek bed. I had the night vision, and suddenly this great big wolf-like creature emerges and lets out this blood-curdling growl. This was no Great Dane-sized dog. Even without the night vision, everyone saw the eyes reflecting the moonlight, which was eye level or even higher, and we were heading downstream, basically we going down the hill. This wolf is about 5'10". We sprint back towards the house and party. All of us are out of breath, but everyone knows we saw something gigantic. Still, none of us really discuss it. We just keep it to ourselves for the rest of the night. My bed faces the barn and creek, and all I heard was the constant weird gnawing and what sounded like blood dripping. Around 3 a.m. a shriek is heard, and our dog is at the garage trying to claw its way back in. It's covered in mud and terrified, and upon entry to the house immediately cowered in the basement. Morning comes, and me and my brother set out along the same path to find some answers. Nothing except a weird metallic smell throughout the area, and neighborhood if you concentrated enough. Near this huge tree, we see what appears to be a swarm of something. The nearer we get, the smell increases, but it wasn't at all unpleasant. A little sweet, to be honest. Behind and in front of this malformed tree alongside the creek bed are dozens, literally dozens of small mammals which have been de-skinned, and everything else up to the head. The head, however, remains perfectly intact. Skin, eyes, fur, everything. We thought the large wolf-like creature we saw last night was the culprit, but to eat flesh and skin with this precision was uncanny for something that big. We nope out of there. Later that day, I took the dog for a walk. He doesn't even want to go towards the creek and instead leads me away from the house and creek. Days pass, weeks pass. Every now and then I go back to the spot of the small animals. Besides the small mammals clearly visible which have been removed, the ones behind the tree remain untouched. The buzzards fly, but they never land. No insects, nothing touches the intact heads. A month after this incident, our dog starts developing lumps which turn out to be cancerous, 7 and counting. He's old, but for so many so quick was odd, even to the vet. 3 months pass and his condition deteriorates so profusely that we have to put him down. He couldn't even walk or see in 3 months' time. The corpses were eventually washed away when the creek filled with water. Every dog since then doesn't want to go up towards that area of the creek. Everything but the head was bare bone, not an ounce of flesh or fur anywhere else.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.